It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And ladies and gentlemen, this past week, I went back to the world of Cloak and Dagger, to the world of the great game, to the world of espionage. I saw CIA. Let me get to that first couple things. I want to give a big shout out to San Antonio. Got some plays in San Antonio this past week. Gracias, gratitude, Torah, and San Antonio. I know some people that travel there pretty regularly, and they say that your town, your city is absolutely magnificent. So one of these days, I'm going to go down to Tejas, hang out, chill, and stop through San Antonio. Maybe see a Spurs game. So thanks, Alyssa. Appreciate guys' gratitude. And additionally, this episode is brought to you by Vinyl. Here at Existing Fiction, we do have some of our artists on vinyl now, and I'll go ahead and put the links below to some of those albums that are currently now on vinyl. Check them out if you want to get some of that old school analog feel. It just was Record Store Day a few days ago. I went out of town, got the dope album by Chuck D and John Densmore, because I'm not just an artist, I'm also a huge music fan. Love Chuck D, love the Doors. I'm still buying vinyl. The other artists still buying vinyl. We love vinyl over at EIF. So if you want to check our vinyl out, I'll put the links below. Check it out. Now, let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this past week, went back to CIA. Now, in this week's episode, something had crash landed in Canada, I believe. Some kind of, flying object or some kind of something crashed. And in this particular crash site, there was something that you just didn't want in public. So it's up to our CIA, FBI team to go ahead and track these things down. Whatever it was, figure out what it was and track it down. Turns out it's definitely something you would not want on the street. I'm gonna leave it at that. And I think you know what that is. So anyways, the team goes undercover to track this down, find it, and stop the terrorists, villains, culprits, criminals, whatever you call them. And of course, as usual, our duo of the CIA guy, the FBI guy, Bill and Colin, Billy, have went ahead and solved that problem. As usual, because they're really good at what they do. So it's a great episode. You get to see them track this down. They get some help from some guy that Colin used to know, used to be a police officer, I believe. And it's a very great episode. Now, what I want to do is get into a couple things I noticed about the episode specifically. Now, in this episode, there's a conversation between Billy, and the cop guy that's helping out the Colin and Bill and the rest of the team, right? And they have a conversation. And in the moment that Bill's interacting with this dude, the guy that's helping out, I can't remember his name, he says, I can tell you love this excitement, right? Because Bill currently in this fusion cell that they have is just getting more excitement, some more, craziness, some more adrenaline pumping things happening to him. And the dude that's with him says, dude, I recognize you're loving this. You're liking this excitement, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about a few things in this. So first of all, it sounds like from watching the shows the last, few weeks, the whole season, that back there, Bill might have been a little wild, slightly wild, just a little bit. It seems like, the girl from back in the day, just hear the stories, that he might have been slightly, a little wild type dude. And he got the CIA and, went conservative and, they just went up. Similar story to Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek, right? It's revealed in Star Trek Next Generation that Picard was a wild man when he was young. And he had to discipline that and civilize that in order to become the Captain Picard we know. Now, in this particular show, CIA, it seems that Bill probably did go that route, and now he's finding excitement again. Now, I wanted to talk about a few things about this particular rap. Now, as a man, the captain who did crave excitement when I was younger, believe it or not, I wasn't as conservative sticking in my damn now. As a human being, I was out living life and, getting into, quotation mark, excitement. Now, unfortunately, if you do live that way, sometimes things happen that you have to, take care of because of doing that. So in my opinion, every young person usually learns the lesson that, if I'm out here acting like this, things happen and you have to, reel it in. And just a gradual, aging process, you just get more conservative, more disciplined most time. Not all the time, most time, right? Someone told me you're born a liberal and die conservative. This may or may not be true, but I feel in most cases it kind of does, go that way. But once you get into the, more conservative lifestyle, it can get a bit, mundane and boring, for lack of a better term. And then once you get a little taste of excitement, it might take you back to your younger days, right? Oh yeah, I love this excitement. Now, this can be a pretty dangerous place, or a place you want to be careful at. And the reason I say that is because, the choices we make is going to shape our future, right? And if you're craving excitement and just, getting a little less control than before, you could possibly make some decisions that could, have some severe ramifications. As we get older, age, you probably don't want to do as you get older. So we see, Bill kind of enjoying the excitement and think like, bro, just tread carefully here, right? You gotta kind of, it's okay to do that, but you gotta kind of be careful with that. And for us and you guys out there as well, it's just something you gotta be mindful of, right? There's a time and place to explore and see the world and take chances and gamble and risk, of course. And maybe your whole life there's always a space for that. But as you get older and you get disciplined, in my opinion, you just gotta be very careful of craving excitement, because excitement is cool, but it also can destroy you sometimes, right? It should be interesting going forward what Bill's story turns into. Now, also additionally, Bill does not tell his lady what's going on. As far as his lady knows, he's just doing the same job he's been doing. Now, I am currently dating someone, and if I shift jobs or my lifestyle changes significantly, I'm going to tell her. I just feel it's probably the right thing to do. But Bill's like, he don't want her to worry, which I totally get, because he's, walking into space, place, doing things that are just a little more dangerous. And I understand we might just want to try to protect his lady. Totally get that. But it is very interesting. And so the lessons we can take from this is, right, it's okay to be risky, just do it at your own caution. Because, every choice actually make does shape our future. And, crave the excitement, you might just do things you shouldn't or regret. And so just be really aware and be careful. And they're in a very high stakes world where there's something they gotta think fast and act fast. And if you look at the news locally, nationally, globally, you do see instances where these people in these professions do make choices, and there's a lot of blowback from that. They're under scrutiny, they're in the public eye, there's a microscope on them all the time. All those guys, the guys that show, and the many other these organizations do have the eyes on them. Now, as I went down the rabbit hole studying counterterrorism, spying, all this is what a lot of experts say. You have to be good and right all the time. One mistake and they forget about all the things they had before you, right? I mean, you have to be perfect, they're saying, right? Because the errors are just so magnified and looked at that, they forget everything else you did good. And additionally, when things go right, you never hear about them, right? All these guys you see on the TV, the CIA, NSA, FBI, you never rarely hear about the things going right unless you really search for it. You always hear about when they mess up or they go wrong, right? And so it is skewed unfair. And then based on how you see it, you think they're messed up every day. Well, they're really not. I mean, if you look at their batting average or their score or their free throw percentage, quotation marks for lack of a better analogy, they're doing well most of the time. It's just the errors hit. And then when they make super, super big errors, in the example of what happened with 9/11 back in the day, you go down the rabbit hole, look at that, they're just really magnified and looked at it immensely. And I get it. I understand why that's done, right? So just in general, these guys, your guys, you can win all day, but when you mess up once, people look at you like, oh my gosh. So just be very aware. Make choices the best you can. And, honestly, we will mess up. We'll mess up, but just try not to mess up too hard. We just can't bounce back from that. Because there's sometimes some things you just can't bounce back from. And I hope you and me and everybody else never has to go through that. Just tread carefully. And if you crave excitement, just be very careful. Do some safe excitement, right? There is bad excitement and unsafe excitement. So just be very careful how you maneuver that. I want what's best for you guys out there. I want you to live a long, beautiful, enjoyable life. And you can do that. You can have excitement, but just tread carefully. I know I sound like a preacher, bro, but bro, I love you guys. You guys are phenomenal. You have a great life. And just mitigate, any kind of negative situations come your way. Now, they will be negative, but you really make choices and take actions that can kind of maneuver on these things if you really think through where to plan out. Just sit back and make some game plans, right? And maybe you can. I know, I just sound like a after school special, but I want you guys to win. And this podcast is all about looking at the two, watch the show, and see what lessons we can learn so we can live better, have more health, more better relationships, more money, more creativity, more whatever you want. And if you make the choices, you might just achieve those. So ladies and gentlemen, CIA, phenomenal show. This episode's phenomenal. I love CIA, spying, espionage, has great tales, great stories, very interesting to watch, read books as well. So this concludes the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you. The vitality of thought is an adventure. Alfred North Whitehead. Till next time, scan the base.
The Captain Talks.